Let's turn to Ondo State, where President Bola Tinubu has described former governor of Ondo State, Akeredolu, as a fearless soldier and advocate of his people. The president, who was represented by the Vice President, Shettima, spoke at the burial service held for the late senior advocate of Nigeria at the St. Andrew's Cathedral, Owo, in Ondo State. In attendance were governors of Lagos, Oyo, Ogun, Osun, Ekiti, and Delta states, including former governors, senators, among other dignitaries. Aiyedatiwa was there.
It is the end of an era. The final journey to the great beyond for former governor of Ondo State, Akeredolu. The large turnout of dignitaries from all walks of life for the final burial service for the man popularly known as Aketi attests to his stature as an accomplished politician and legal icon. In a speech laced with words of grief and admiration, President Bola Tinubu commended the late Akeredolu's indomitable legacy of national service. Represented by Vice President Shettima, President Tinubu traced his journey from being a distinguished legal practitioner to his pivotal role as a governor of Ondo State. He commended his vast intelligence and profound impact of his leadership.
Today we bid final farewell to a remarkable soul whose final station was as the governor of Ondo State, Arakorin Oluwarotimi Odunayo Akeredolu, SANCON. A man who in the theater of life stood as a fearless soldier for his people. A man who was unflinching in his dedication to their well-being. A man whose legacy is etched in the battles he fought on behalf of the people, leaving an indelible footprint on the sands of our shared history. Forged in the workshop of a noble profession, the legal profession, whose members he got to lead, and whose highest honor he was privileged to acquire.
In his message, the Anglican Bishop of Akeredolu Diocese, Most Reverend Blessing Enyida, described the former governor as a courageous leader and dogged fighter.
Forget that when we leave this world, we go with nothing. Revelation chapter 14 verse 13 says, the only thing we will be remembered for is our works, good or bad. And the word of God says in 1 Timothy chapter 6 verse 7, we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we carry nothing out.
Different words.
On his part, Governor Aiyedatiwa extolled the virtues of his former boss, stressing that the legacy he left behind remains evergreen.
A courageous leader, a fighter, a warrior, with integrity. How can we forget him so soon? It is not possible, because he lives on in our hearts, not just the immediate family. All of us that at one time or the other had interaction with him. How can Ondo State people forget him so easily?
Former Governor Akeredolu died on the 26th of December 2023 at the age of 67 after a protracted battle with cancer. He will be greatly remembered for his role in the creation of Amotekun Corps for Southwest security. Aiyedatiwa, TVC News, Owo.
And for more on the barrier, I'm joined by a former member of the Ondo State House of Assembly and former member of the DC Board, Aiyedatiwa. He joins me live on TVC News at 7. Well, Aketi has finally been laid to rest. As someone who's worked closely with him, what have you been able to identify as his legacy in the days after, the years after his death? How do you think he will be remembered?
Oh, thank you so much. Let me send my greetings to our viewers. I have the opportunity of closely work with Aketi, first as the chairman of the Ondo State Oil Producing Area Development Commission, or SOPADEC, and later, by his recommendation, I was appointed to be a member of the NDDC board before the board was dissolved in June 2023. So if you had listened to all the people that spoke, a few things were uniform in whatever they were saying. One, the courage that Aketi exhibited when he was alive. And I'm a true witness of the courage. For instance, when I was appointed in April 2017 as the chairman of Osopadek, so people rose up to say I was not from an oil-producing community, therefore I was not competent to be the chairman of Osopadek. He stood his ground. He told them that if they were convinced that I was not properly appointed, that they could vent their anger in court. They protested, they broke placards. He engaged them. He stopped, alighted from his car, and said, "You have a right to protest, only that you don't destroy government properties. Because if you destroy any property, I will not renovate or repair same." So that's one. Two, on the issue of Amateco, you knew that it was not a popular thing even during the period. You will find out that he stood his ground, he was able to galvanize his people, especially the Southwest people. And today, Amateco has come to stay. And it will amuse you that today, even the federal government, the presidency, the National Assembly, they are discussing the issue of state police. They have now seen, maybe he actually was before his time. You will also recall that the issue of marijuana was one of the things he put on the broad border. That instead of wasting so much money on NDLA, looking for people who are farming in marijuana, why don't we put it to some productive use? And I'm sure one day, some of this is a treatise, or some of this is theory. We come to play that because marijuana in itself may not be totally bad. I'm not saying it's good to take drugs, but we can use it to, into productive use rather than spending so much money, burning farms, getting DLA to arrest people, prosecuting people in court. If you put juxtapose economically, you will find that Aketi will be right one day that we should put it in productive use so that we don't spend so much money. Rather, we can get money from the growing and the sales and the coordinated sales and usage of marijuana as is done in other developed countries. So maybe he lived before his time, but everybody was unanimous that he was a courageous person and that he was also a talk and do person, which means he was a sincere person during his lifetime.
As governor, he provided leadership to the APC in Ondo State. We've seen all of them come together to bid him farewell. But some would say he's left behind a divided party. How do you see the APC recover from the events of last year, towards the end, its final days with us?
Well, it's quite unfortunate. At times like this, it's not unfortunate, it's not improper, or it's not unlikely that we find this, especially since we are approaching the election year. For instance, when Aketi was alive, some people say he had anointed them, some people have appointed them as his successor. Yes, it is the desire of any incumbent that he should have a say in who his successors or successor will be, so that whatever legacy, whatever program he has can continue. We have seen examples of successors who have been guided by their predecessors, especially in Lagos State since 1999 up to date. And that has done well. It has proven well for Lagos in terms of developmental growth. So we will have desired it. But now that we have a situation in our hands, the deputy governor then, by reason of the constitutional provision, now becomes the governor. But again, the transition between September 2023 and the time Aketi died had actually pitched or polarized the party. But I am very optimistic that by April 27, by the grace of God, when the time for primaries election will have been over and a new candidate will have emerged, especially if it's a new candidate that do not belong to any of the because we know where the polarizations are. So if we have a new candidate who does not belong to any of the camps, the possibilities are that I should be able to galvanize the fight together against the November 16 election, which we are hoping that we'll win by the grace of God.
Well, I'm sure the stakeholders are counting on your optimism and seeing how APC will fare after that much talked about primary. Aiyedatiwa is former member of Ondo State House of Assembly and also former member of NDDC board. Thank you for talking to us on the news tonight.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.